started on the first one of his most well-known waltz. I think you've done one other waltz.
Wow.
Do you remember?
Hey.
I think this is your second waltz, right? That we've learned. You've learned a lot of nocturnes. I know that, right? We have never done a Chopin mazurka. At some point, we should, right? Because his mazurkas are very, very special, and there's this belief, and I believe, right, also that if Chopin were to choose, right, his favorite pieces, because he wrote so many beautiful pieces, what would he pick, right, as his most personal favorite? I think, right, that he would say it's his mazurkas, because they're very personal, right, they're very intimate. Anyway, but this is a waltz, right? So the waltz is also a dance, right, like a mazurka, but it's a more typical type of dance, right? So we are focusing mostly on the first beat, right, like a regular waltz. So you always have a low note, and then you have, right, you have some chords, right? That's a very typical waltz pattern, right? So a lot of waltz follow that, right? Okay, so shall we hear you play it?
Heck yeah.
Okay.
What was it?
done. Well, we did this 2 weeks ago, right? Because last week I was busy, so I wasn't able to see you. But so we did it 2 weeks ago, and we only had a little time, right, for it. So we weren't able to talk about a lot of things. But since then, you've worked on it some more by yourself, right? So it already is a lot better. Well, so many things we can talk about, right? First of all, right, earlier I was saying you've done a lot of nocturnes, right? This is a waltz. So what's the difference, right? Well, nocturnes, the word nocturne, right, means night, of course, right? But that doesn't mean you can only play in the evening, right? But I guess nocturnes are a little more expressive, right? They are more emotional. There's more rubato, right? Overall, right? And I mean, that's just generally speaking, right? A waltz is more like a dance, right? So we have to be just a little more careful, right? How much rubato we use. And in this particular one, right, Chopin didn't write how fast you need to play. Usually, right, he would say stuff like molto vivace, right, like in the Opus 64 number 1. Molto means very, right? Vivace is lively, so very lively. In other words, pretty fast, right? Now, the nocturne that you played, I believe the first one, let me just double check, right? But he usually indicates, right, in the score how fast he wants you to play, just like most composers do, right? Okay, so the first nocturne was a larghetto, remember? So larghetto comes from the word largo, but larghetto means not quite as slow as largo, right? So a little faster than largo, so a little faster than slow, in other words, not too slow, right? And then the second nocturne that you played, this one, right? That was andante, right? So that's walking speed. And what other nocturne have you done? You've done the F minor one, right? So that one is andante too, right? That one, right? So indicating a specific tempo is quite common, right? Most composers do that. Okay, so this particular waltz, right? It's just very interesting to see that he didn't say how fast. He said only, right, tempo gusto.
Tempo gusto.
Right? Now, tempo is just speed, right? What's gusto, right? Well, it basically means strict and exact, right? Just. In other words, you don't want to have too much flexibility. You just want to let it be, right? So it's almost as if though Chopin's trying to warn us, right, to not become overly sentimental, right? Because it's a waltz, right? Ultimately, you gotta think about the dance, right? So that dance rhythm, right? And of course, we know you dance, right? You're fantastic, right? You do tap, right? And tap is all about strictness, isn't it? You gotta be so strict with your timing. So, but of course, being a piece by Chopin, it is not possible to play without any rubato whatsoever, right? It would not even sound good. So rubato is something that is almost natural. But in this particular piece, we just gotta be careful, right? That we don't overdo it. And because Chopin warned us, right, in the very beginning, he wants it to be tempo gusto, okay? So choosing the right speed is very important, right? And so that's the first thing I want to mention. But then, of course, when you get to this part, right, he says più mosso. So that's more faster, right? More movement. So you're allowed to go faster there. And then the middle section, you see here says più lento, right? Now più is more, lento is slow. So you can be more slow there, okay? And then più mosso again when you get to this business, right? And then when you return to the original section, right, afterwards, he says tempo 1, right? So back to the first speed. And then the last section is più mosso again, right? Okay, so, I'm trying to be your eyes for you, right, to look at the score and give you what he says, okay? The next thing that is quite interesting, right, is he has quite a bit of dynamic markings, right? But they are just crescendos and decrescendos. Wow. So we don't see a lot of actual piano or actual forte or actual mezzo forte, whatever, right? Everything is relative, right? So the very first indication is just a decrescendo. So how loud should you play the first note, right? Well, it's up to you, I guess, right? So you could play it, right? Well, that's a bit too much, of course, right? And I have to remember to turn the microphone down when I play. When I speak, I need to turn it up, and when I play, I turn it down. So if I forget, right? I'm sorry if the sound is not adequate for you. So, but you know, some people play very quietly, right? But the important thing is to do the decrescendo, right? The important thing is to observe the musical side. So whatever you do, right, you need to be quiet on this chord, right? And then quieter again, right? Now these things are very hard to play, isn't it? These, right? We want the little note to come out, right? But we don't want it to distract from the rhythm, right? But we do want all of them to come out. So, you know, some people play it, right, this way. Some people play it, right? So I think it's easier, right, if you just play the little note by itself, right? So we can hear it, right? And then how much break do you have, right? Do you have a lot of break or almost no break, right? Again, that's a matter of interpretation, right? Because Chopin again gives us kind of conflicting instructions, right? He put a rest between that and that, right? So he actually put a rest there, but then he also put the curve line over it. So it's as if, right, the rest is simply to tell your hand to go away, but he doesn't want the sound to be broken, right? And there's a crescendo there too. So if the sound was broken, you couldn't really do the crescendo, right? So the very first time, I think I would play it this way, right? In other words, I'm doing the rest, right? But we are not hearing the rest because we're pedaling through it. But the rest allows my hand to relax, right? It allows me to kind of like regroup myself, right? So after I come up, I can regroup. So, but remember, this piece is so repetitive, right? All these things come back. So when it comes back, you could, of course, experiment with different articulation and different pedaling, right? So it could be quite nice and bright, right? To play it that way when it returns. So I think that's ultimately why it's so interesting to play the same piece or even listen to the same piece, right? Played by different people over and over, because you listen to see what individual artists do. And you go, oh, okay, he's doing it this way, or she's doing it that way, or, oh, okay, that's the same as how I would do it, or, oh, that's very different from how I would do it, or I never even thought of that option, right? It's all very interesting. Okay, so again, that brings us also to the point of pedaling, right? I think you remember what I said about pedaling, so that sometimes, right, we are very legato, right? And we are connected from measure to measure. And then sometimes we let go, right? Right? And then sometimes we even let go sooner, right? And do you see? So this particular piece, right, I think there's opportunity to do all of the above, right? So some places you could be highly legato. There is no break whatsoever between, you know, the measures. And some measures, you have the slightest little break, right, on the third chord, right, before you play the next measure. But some of them will be very short, right? Maybe not this particular place, but the pedal, right, definitely has a couple possibilities. And we also mentioned how he does this kind of on purpose, that sometimes, right, after a bass note, you only have one chord, right? That's it, only one chord, right? And it's unpredictable, right? Sometimes you'll have two of them, right? Sometimes you'll have 2 repeated chords. So that's something to watch out for, okay? So when he does only give you 1 chord, right, I think it's very important, right, to give us the rest. Yeah, no, you don't want to hold on to the pedal, I don't think, right? Because then we're not observing that rest. So I think it's quite important to do the rest, since he could have very easily gave us this. Right? It would sound just as good to play the chord 2 times, right? It would sound good, but he doesn't want it. So we need to give the rest, right? Give the rest. Give the rest. Right? Give the rest means let go of the pedal, right? And it becomes very pure, right? Because you hear nothing except the right hand. Right? Exactly, right? And there's something so gorgeous about just playing the 1 note, right? After you have a very rich sound, it's just very interesting to all of a sudden just have these single note. Okay? It's that very pure sound. All right, now what else have I noticed when you were playing earlier that I haven't mentioned? Well, I noticed, right, in your left hand, you sometimes, right, do not want to use your thumb to play the chord. Okay, so, well, for example, this chord, right? And then, right? So, when it's a black note, right, you usually want to do 2 and 4. I've noticed, right? When it's a white note, you will use your thumb. Like this one. This one I did see you use your thumb, right? I think. But when it's a black note, you usually instinctively do not want to use your thumb. Okay? In this case, well, it's easier, right? If you do, because the note is so far away, right? The thumb is the easiest finger to get to. Okay, so that's like an old thing, right? It's just the way you were just so used to doing, right, for such a long time, and so your instinct is to always go to anybody except the thumb, right? But let's use our thumb a bit more, okay? Especially on these chords, right? I had another student learning this particular waltz. So what they do, right, what she does is she likes to use her pinky all the time, right? So for her, her pinky is her best friend. So she will use pinky here, and then she will use pinky here, right? Everything is pinky, everything is pinky, right? Even this is pinky, right? Well, this one she doesn't use pinky, I don't think. But many of the chords she likes to use the pinky, okay? So it's okay, right, for this particular chord, right, because it's pretty big, right? But when the chord is not very big, like this one, right, definitely pinky is not a good idea, right? So for her, right, what I tell her is, well, these waltz patterns, right, we typically use the pinky for the low note. That goes without saying, right? And then the chords on top, right, we should use the thumb. If there are 3 notes, right, we should use the thumb, we should use the second finger, and then we should use either 3 or 4, if possible, okay? So in other words, don't use the pinky again if you can help it, right? So pinky is already working, so try not to use the pinky again if you can help it. Pinky is working. Now this one I do use the pinky because it's a little bit far, right? But this one I don't, right? Because I just want to save my pinky, I guess, right? Because the pinky is available, right? But never, of course, do 3. That's too stretched, right? So 4 is a good idea, right? Right? So I guess the general rule, right, is to try to think about using the finger that is as far away from pinky as possible on the chords, right? So that means you should definitely use your thumb, right? And if there's 2 notes, you could choose 1 or 2, 1 or 3, or 1 or 4, right? Depending on the interval. But not using the thumb would be strange, okay? All right, okay. And then one time, well, the previous time we were talking about this, and I heard you do a little bit of it today already, is to think of bringing out a different voice, right? And especially when you have repeats, right? It's interesting to maybe just instead of bringing out the soprano, you bring out the alto, right? And one very common one that people do is to go, right? They bring out the G sharp, right? You hear how I brought out the thumb, right? So that's a good practice with your thumb, right? Except this one is the right hand thumb. Did you hear how those right? Right, those little notes got brought out, right? So something to think about. Not everybody does it, and certainly it's an option, right? But I'm just making you aware, right? The possibilities. Okay, well, shall we play it again now? So I gave a little overview, right, of the things that we can consider. So now we'll play it again, and this time as you play, right, we will stop you every now and then if we can think of something, right, to do together. All right, so like I said, beginning tempo gusto, right? Just let the music speak for itself.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's basically it, right? Because he then repeats himself. So I felt your first note was probably a little too long, right? So remember, let the music be, right? Okay, so just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, all right, and remember to use your thumb, right? After the pinky, try to use your thumb on the next thing. Try to use your thumb. Okay, all right, go. Better. I like that better. Oh, that one, right? That one. So that one was, can you use the thumb? So if you use 1 and 3 for this chord, then the pinky is very easy to get to, right? See? So that's 5, do 1 and 3. You can just reach over for that pinky. Okay? So show me that chord. It's better, right? Now let's do our musical side, right? A little more sensitively. So, right? The slow motion is here. Exactly. So the second one is not as heavy, right? So we don't want to go. Do you see? That's too heavy, right? You want the second note. That one I choose to bring out the G sharp, right? So in the beginning I brought out the E, right? But here, because of the descending thing, right? It's just normal, right? Or natural, right? For me to bring out that note. But let's do that. And because I brought out the G sharp, then I need to bring out the F double sharp there, right? So I'm choosing to bring out the alto voice this time. Let's go from here. Okay. sharp on pinky, so of course it would be C sharp on the thumb. But I didn't see you use your thumb, right? Because it's an octave, right? If you have an octave and this is 5, this C sharp will for sure be a 1, right? It's just a standard, right, choice. Can you show me this chord? Use 1, 2, 3. Yeah, right? 1, 2, 4, I could live with it, right? But I definitely will use the thumb. Yeah. Oh, that one too, right? So use 1 and 3 for that chord. Yes, right? Because again, this is so far away, right? The most logical finger is the thumb, right? If you don't use the thumb will be in the way, right? Because the note is quite close to where the right hand is. So you want to use your thumb, so that otherwise your thumb will be basically hitting your other hand. Yes. Oh, let's get that chord right? So that's 1 and 2. Yes. Oh, that's another classic one, right? Of using the thumb. Of you not using the thumb, I should say, right? So that's 5 and that's 1 and 3. Now, if you do that, what's the advantage? Because then you can use the third finger to pivot back to the E sharp, right? So use 1, 3 here, right? And then you can swing over to play the E sharp. So 5, and then 1 and 3, swing back to 5 here. But you cannot do this pivot thing unless you use your thumb for that chord. Yes. Oh, let's do the ornament, right? So. Oh, here's another one, right? So right hand should be doing 1 and 3. Right hand is doing 1 and 4. So the thumbs are on top of each other, right? So you're going to use your thumb in both hands. So left hand is 1, 3, right hand is 1, 4. So the two thumbs are overlapped, right? So the right hand is playing a lower note than the left hand, right? So the melody is... Now, while I'm doing that, my left hand has to do this chord, right? So use 1 and 4 or 1 and 3 and then 1 and 2 for that. But definitely use your thumb. Yeah, no, use your thumb, right? And use your thumb as well. Yes. Something like that, okay? It's better, right? So, yes, this is a low one. Yep. Make sure you play the low one, okay? And as I was saying, right, really think about your choice of fingering, okay? You get the notes, right? But if you use more logical choices, it is ultimately more efficient, okay? And easier, okay, than otherwise. Okay, and then this is the more faster version, right? So the first time, I think we talked about this also last time, there's a lot of decrescendos, right? So almost everything is a decrescendo, right? Well, that's exaggerating, right? But each one has its own curve line, right? Right? So emphasize the first couple note. The first couple. Yep. Oh, see that one? That one I see you stretch a lot, Kodi. Right? This one. I see you do like 2 and 4, right? It's very stretched, right? Can you do 1 and 3? Right? Just trust your thumb. The thumb is the easiest finger to get to that high note. You have F sharp, you have C sharp. Thumb is the easiest, right? Yes. Now, every time you restart this, make sure you give us a clean G sharp. Okay, so no matter how much sound you have built up, make sure this is clean again. Okay, so we don't want to have this hangover. Okay, so clean up, right, on the G sharp. And then this one is softer, right, and longer phrase. So after you've done each and every one of them, right, this time it's just big long curved line, more straightforward, softer, and I even pedal less. So I even go, right, so I go 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3, right, I let the pedal go sooner. Try it. Shorter pedal. Can you try that, right? And remember, this one has the extra one, right? So it's, I think it's just more lively. Yes. Yes. Good. Oh, remember that one only has one time, right? It's switched over. The other one had 2 times. This one only 1 time. And this one I will slow down more. The first one I hardly slow down, right? Because I'm not done yet. But now, slow down more to lead us into this section. Okay? So do the last chromatic scale or scale. Da 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 da. Well, I would keep the pedal there, so. Right, because this chord is still part of this harmony. So don't change pedal yet until there. Clean it up there, right? But this measure can have the same pedal. Well, let's not play this chord too loud, right? So. So this definitely, right, is not tempo gusto, right? So tempo gusto was the beginning, strict, matter of fact, more or less, right? Now completely different, right? So feel free to have a lot of rubato. Well, look at that chord, right? What do you do? Not thumb. Choose your thumb, right? Because it's the black note, right? You just have a bit of a thing about black note and thumb, right? It's like your thumb does not want to play black note, right? It's avoiding it at all cost. Let it get used to it. Okay, let your thumb get used to playing the black note. Okay, again, if you do that, you have a pivot, right? You can pivot back and forth. See, it's quite a useful thing. Okay, to put the thumb on black note. Okay, well, this passage, right? This particular section has a lot of rubato, a lot of expressiveness, right? So remember earlier I didn't want you to sit on the first note too long, right? Well, guess what? You can sit on this note longer now, right? Use the thumb on that black note. Why? Because you can pivot back. That's actually almost necessary, right? So not only, like I said, is it easier, if you don't put thumb on this black note, you cannot hold on to this note and go and play that. You see, you have to pivot back because he wants you to tie that note. So you have this chord, then you change to this chord, which I'm using 1 and 2, right, to play. So then I let go of my thumb and I stay on the second finger. So I swing my pinky back to play that note. Right? But you see, I'm not losing that harmony. So if you didn't use the thumb on this black note, you would not be able to accomplish that. Okay? Just like here. It happened earlier too. So you have to use 1 and 2. So then you hold on to the second finger while you let go of the thumb and you swing it back to play those notes. Right? But this B flat See, never went away. This B flat stay, right? Now, people think, well, what's the big deal? I'm pedaling this whole entire time. Well, the big deal is you're changing the pedal a lot, right? So if you are not holding the pivot, right, you're gonna lose the harmony. So it is actually vital, right, to hold on to that particular note. So see, when you change pedal, you're not losing it, okay? And just be careful that you are noticing some chords have 3 notes, some chords have 2 notes, okay? So it's not always 3, right? Some are 2s, some are 3s, okay? I'll play this section for you, okay? Sing the melody, right? So isn't that just a gorgeous section, right?
Gorgeous.
When I always remind people, right, when we play such a gorgeous Chopin melody,
Wow.
it always reminds me of something that I feel whenever it's like you hear this beautiful melody, you go, oh wow,
Oh, wow.
no, my life is complete. I've heard the most gorgeous melody, right? There it is. Until you hear the next Chopin melody, right? Then you go, wow, I didn't think that was possible. I already heard the most beautiful melody, but this one is even more beautiful, right? Okay, so surprise me, right? Make it, play it and make me feel like it's the most beautiful melody.
Wow.
Surpasses all the other most beautiful melodies that I've heard. Okay? All right, your turn.
Nice. Ooh.
Now remember to give me the rest, right? So when he has no chord on the third beat, that is unusual, right? Because he normally fills it 1, 2, 3, right? So every beat has something to play. But sometimes he doesn't have anything. So you have to let go of the pedal, right? So that is such a special moment. Now if you continue with the pedal, I think you lose how special that is, right? So no more pedal, and then comes back, right? That one little moment of loneliness for that one note, right, is so special. So let's go from this part, right? Do you hear that part? Right? Your turn. Good. Yeah. So let's play this sort of more, right, expressively, I guess, right? Right. It's not quite lined up, right? Only this one is lined up, right? But we want to play it a little bit more freer, right? We don't want to feel like we are doing right? In little groups. Right? Just wants to be freer. Something like that, yeah. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, I said something because I noticed you did something, but it's fine, right? Because there's a difference of addition, I'm sure, right? So some additions play B flat and then B natural, which is what you did. Yeah, I like that. Okay. But make sure you only do 2 notes here, okay? So we have, right, only 2 notes in the left hand. But again, we need to use 1 and 2, so you can hold on to this 2 while you swing back to play that, right? That tie has to be observed. Let go of the pedal. I would do this one with more pedal, right? Because this one is the one that has a whole bunch of decrescendo, so a little more reluctant, right? So not so like go, right? The next one you can do that, but this one a little reluctant, right? So therefore longer pedal, right? And then this one is the shorter pedal. You see? So there's a contrast. Okay? Yeah, let's not to slow down too much here, right? Because we still have so much to do. Just keep going. Yes. And shorter pedal now. Yes. Returns. Now remember tempo gusto, so not too sentimental. Those little notes. Well, perhaps bring out this alto part more, right? Do you hear it? So bring out those notes, so I'll do it again. Okay. Good. Thank you. That's right. That's a hard part to figure out, right? Just by pure listening. So I'll play each hand. That's the right hand, right? So listen again. So single note. Here's a chord, right? E and G sharp, and then hold the G sharp while you play the rest. So da da da, the G sharp stays, and then the left hand does single note, E and C sharp, and then F sharp and B sharp, right? So single, not single note, two notes, right? But the thing is the right hand overlaps. The right hand thumb will go lower than the left hand thumb to play that, right? So the right hand thumb is doing this, but the left hand thumb is doing the C sharp. So they overlap, right? But make sure you're holding onto that G sharp. That's very important. Yeah. Oh, remember to let go of the pedal so we know the third beat has nothing, right? Nothing. Nothing. And then the final time, see if you can go even more faster, okay?
Yeah.
Don't slow down yet. Now you can slow down. Yep, definitely catch the C sharp though, right? So we don't lose that C sharp. And again, this is the use of the pivot thing again, right? Right, so you swing over, right? So definitely use the thumb again, right? Good. Yeah, that's how I would do it anyway, right? It's almost like I want to tell people this is it, right? There's no there. But it is possible, and I have heard it done quite well, to have no slowdown, right? So I didn't play the notes very good. Right? It's possible, right? To just kind of let it disappear into thin air without any slowdown of any sort, right? You want to try that to see if you like it? Go. Well, you have to do one or the other, right? Slow down or don't slow down, right? If you do a little mixture, that will be strange. Yeah. Okay, it's too hard to not do the slow down, I guess, right? Because it's far away, right? But like I said, right, if we choose the slow down, then we gotta make it convincing, right? And if we don't choose the slow down, right? So I guess the hard thing is to get that, right? So if we don't slow down there, you gotta find that very quickly, right? And there's no other way to find it quickly unless you use your thumb, right? If you avoid your thumb, right, you will not get that chord right? So that's a hard one, right? Because it's far away, right? Something like that, yeah. I like the slow down. Let's do the slow down. Okay, good job, right? Okay, well, so your next assignment will be the first waltz, right? Opus 64, number 1, right? So the first one, right, is in the D flat major. Remember, the second one was in C sharp minor, right? But it goes to the D flat major in the middle. Well, the first one is just in D flat major, okay? And it's a much more livelier, much more faster one, right? So have fun with it, okay? All right, see you next time. Bye-bye. You did great. Bye.